Right then everyone, let me show you where I've got to on the control box. Hopefully you can hear me above the rain, it's on the garage roof. I have completed all of the sort of internal wiring. There's the fuse box, and the dropper resistor, the light switch and the horn push, and the battery condition gauge. If I just stand up and show you in here, there's the wiring to the battery condition gauge. And I've also added some of the main links. So I've got a link from the main power that goes to the forwards reverse thing. I've got a link that goes from the main negative to the actual switches. The switches are all installed, bit of a dry run. I've found the fact that I've got some bolts that aren't quite long enough. We'll talk about that in a second. And there's the sort of interlock and safety switches, all sort of wired in. What I'm going to do is I'll put it up in the tripod and just try and show you where the problem is with the bolts. This is all sort of comes about because some of the switches have two connectors on them and some of them have a link and a connector. There are some links on this side as well. I have to make the links out of this copper plate. Let's get set up and I'll show you what I'm talking about. On top of each of these switches there is an arc chute. This is one of the arc chutes. That directs down these sort of brass vanes any arc flash that occurs as the switch is switched. That just stops things melting and shorting out and causing problems and wearing the switches out. I don't know whether you can see, but that bolt has one tag on it and is just about used up all the thread on the bolt. Now I went for this length of bolt because I don't want them bumping into the arc chutes. I'm going to put an arc chute on and then I'll show you the problems. Right, here's one of the arc chutes. It's quite big. Hopefully you can see this. And I'll just put this one in sort of by way of a demonstration. I'm trying to keep my arms and things out of the way. It clicks on and it has a little stud that goes in, which I can just do up. There we go, that's perfectly on now, and I might have to stop it on the tripod and zoom in so we can see the actual problem. I'll try and bring the light into view a bit better as well. Right, hopefully we can see down in here. Can you just see where my finger's pointing? This actual connector, if we refer to the wiring diagram, try and bring that a bit more into view, over here has two tabs on it. So I need another tab underneath that nut. And if you can see, there's not much of the bolt sticking out. So I'm going to have to go for a bolt that's sort of 2 or 3 millimeters bigger. But then the real problem happens, and I'll just use this example as an example of when we have to get the copper link in. And if you put the copper link on there, on the face of the bolt, you can see how close it gets to the bottom of the arc chute. I think there's room. It's about 2 millimeters clearance, and the bottom of this is all insulated, so there's no problem with a short circuit. So the next thing I'm going to do is make the links and then have a trial fitting, but I'll also have to get some longer bolts, but not as long as the ones I had previously because they actually bumped into the arc chutes. Right, I've been looking at this bolt length problem. I don't know when I'm going to try and point it out with this palette knife, but can you just see the bolt head in behind there? Okay, so if I put the forwards reverse switch into full forward, Can you see that link has come into view? So there's a link from down here to up there. Now, it isn't actually touching the bolt heads because I can put my palette knife in between the two. There's a few millimeters of clearance. What I'm thinking is I'd like to move those bolt heads a little bit further away. What I will do is I will counterbore the tuffnel to bring the heads in, which will in effect lengthen the bolts just to get me enough distance to have two clamps or a clamp and a link. So that's going to be the next thing I've got to do. Right, I don't know if you can see, but I've been busy. I'll try and point out with a screwdriver. If you can see, I have planed down the tuffnel block. That spaces each switch, the tuffnel being non-conductive. I've also made the link between switch number 1 and switch number 2, and because I've lessened the thickness of the tuffnel, we've now got room for the link, the lock washer and the terminal. I'm using just a blank terminal because these cables come from the actual locomotive. And down here I've got room for 2 terminals. Right, I've put the arc chute on and you can see that I've got about 3 millimeters clearance between the top of the nut with the link and the terminal in place. So thinning down the tuffnel has worked a treat, and it allows us to put on everything that we need to have on with nothing touching.